Welcome to the K20 Center's Zoom into College video series. These online college expos give students a way to explore many interesting careers and learn about their college options from volunteer professionals. Aisha Owusu is the Assistant Dean of Student Services at OU's College of Atmospheric and Geographic Sciences.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Zoom into College. We are so excited that you're here. This is our first ever Zoom into College session, and we are honored that you have chosen to be here with us today. We hope it's a lot of fun for you. We have other Gear Up colleagues here. If everyone could turn their cameras on, please, and show your smiley faces. Hi. We're so excited to be here, and our first guest for our first ever Zoom into College is Aisha Owusu. If she will turn her camera on, and she's going to tell us a little bit about a really specific college within the University of Oklahoma that you all have probably heard about, because you know we have a National Weather Center based University of Oklahoma, and she's going to be speaking about that and much more. Go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, K20 for having me. It's good to be back at the University of Oklahoma. I'm a graduate of the college myself back from 2007, nearly 14 years ago, as it turns out. But I'm back. I've had a career that's spanned across a couple of different industries that are within our college and outside of it as well too. And I'm really excited to share some opportunities to get you excited about it, or have you think about something else and decide that this isn't exactly what you want to do at all, right? But you're still in the 8th and 9th grade. You got plenty of time to think about it as well too. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started and share my screen. Okay, I hope everybody can see the presentation. So I'm going to talk about the marvelous world of atmospheric and geographic sciences. And again, my name is Aisha Owusu, and I'm the Assistant Dean of Student Services at the College of Atmospheric and Geographic Sciences. So, fun fact, I love Marvel. I love everything about Marvel. I love the cinematic universe. We were just talking previously about how Lacey said that she watched all of the Marvel movies, and now WandaVision is out, and I just can't get enough of it because it's so well done. But in particular, these Marvel characters have something in common, right? Dust, obviously most of these names, you can surmise what they do. Being able to control dust. Rock slide, being able to control the rocks. Crystal, however, is able to control the 4 elements of earth, water, fire, and wind. Richter is able to, he is a telekinetic, so he can cause seismic waves. Quake can do the same thing. Magma can obviously control magma, and volcanoes. Sandman, sand. Avalanche can control avalanches as well too. And then Petra herself, she is a geokineticist. She has really vast and wide skills to control dirt and stone and soil as well too. But all of them have something very much in common. They are all based, and their powers are based in geosciences, right? And that's something that has very much attracted me to learning about the fields of atmospheric and geographic sciences, because they are wrapped up in the world of geosciences itself. But what exactly do I mean by that? And then, of course, my favorite Marvel character is Storm. I love everything about her. I think it's very synonymous with why I became a meteorologist in general. I learned about her, and then I learned about weather, and then it just all fit together when I was about 8 years old. And it didn't deviate for a long time until I got into my 20s, and I decided that wasn't what I wanted to do after I got my degree. However, that's a different story for a different day. But really, we are talking about the geosciences, and what geosciences really mean is it's just the study of the earth. It's the study of the oceans. It's the studies of the atmosphere, the rivers, the lakes, ice sheets, glaciers, soil. It's whole complex. It includes chemistry, it includes physics, it includes mathematics, it includes practically every science you can think of, right? And it has many tools and it has many practices on its own, but ultimately it's linked with biological, chemical, and physical sciences. And so these are the vast careers that exist in the geosciences, right? I think that there are more than 100 that are on here. You can be a marine biologist, a geoscience, an oceanographer, a geophysics, environmentalist, a chemist, a geographer, geologist. The list goes on and on and on. But for our college, we house not all of these. In fact, we house about 3 of these in which you can get a degree within. And I want to expound on exactly what it is that means in layman's terms, because the science is quite complicated, right? And so I don't like to scare people away, because when you get into it, physics, chemistry, mathematics, it is quite complicated. There is a time in which numbers then turn into letters as well too, when you have equations. But ultimately, the reason why I love geosciences is because it's about protecting our earth and sustaining our earth, and the decisions that come out of doing that, using science, using communication, and working with communities as well too. I find it to be the perfect balance of everything that I want, to be human on this earth. Not to mention, I love this earth. I would like for it to stick around for a lot longer. And I would like us to be in better practice of us to learn about the things in which we did wrong and try to correct those things for the future to come. And so specifically, my college, the one that I work at, the one I graduated at, as I said, is the College of Atmospheric and Geographic Sciences. We have 2 academic units that fit under there. So 2 schools, if you will. We have the School of Meteorology, which a lot of people know about because it's the #1 school for meteorology in the United States. It's a pretty prominent school. A lot of people go here, not to mention a lot of people know about our tornadoes and our severe weather, and our National Weather Center is conveniently located here as well. But we also have another department called the Department of Geography and Environmental Sustainability that often acts as like the stepchild or something like that, but it is rather prominent as well too. And there are loads of different careers that are under there that are suited for that. A lot of people think about our college and they just think about meteorology and storm chasing. That is not condoned, by the way. That's not even a real field to go into. By the way, it is not a real field at all too. You may see it on the Weather Channel or whatnot, but it's highly unpredictable, right? We really don't condone students to go into a field like that because it is very dangerous. It is a very dangerous field to go into. And so people that do that, that is usually their hobby. It's not like a job in which they get paid for, unless there's a show that's on the Weather Channel or something like that that's housing it. But yeah, so a lot of people come into the School of Meteorology wanting to storm chase, wanting to learn all about tornadoes, but that's just such a small piece of what the School of Meteorology has to offer. And what I find most of the time is a lot of people want to come in and they're weather advocates, right? They love the weather, they love everything about it, but it's not quite what it is that they want to do, right? They know that they're interested in the weather, they know that they're interested in climate, but climate and weather has applications that expand into our Department of Geography and Environmental Sustainability. And so I want to talk about those 2 academic units within our college. And I want to talk about some nomenclature first. BS stands for Bachelor's of Science and BA stands for Bachelor's of Arts. Right? Just to be very simplistic about it, one requires a lot of math and physics and one doesn't, because you're getting a Bachelor of Science and the other one is arts. And so you can fill in and get a much more holistic degree by taking some languages, by taking some art forms and combining those into work in what you're doing within a Bachelor's of Arts. But they're still top-notch degrees. There's still very great degrees to get out of it. It's just nuanced in what classes you would take while you're in there. And we can talk about that and I can answer questions about that as well too. So as I said before, our School of Meteorology is housed in the National Weather Center. There's only one of its kind in the United States. There are many National Weather Services, and that's where the forecasting offices lie that you may see around the country. But there's only one National Weather Center, and that's here in Norman, Oklahoma. But what exactly am I talking about when I'm talking about meteorology? I'm sure many people just think about the people that are on TV that are giving you your forecast, or maybe the people that you pull up in your apps now when you're looking at what the forecast is going to be like for the day. But meteorology really blends mathematics, it blends physics, and it blends computer sciences so that we can provide an applied framework to understand and predict the complexities of the atmosphere. Because, like I was saying, it is rather complex. It is not in a vacuum, and it affects everything. Weather affects absolutely every industry in the entire world, right? Down to investment banking, definitely farming, but even like far-fetched things in which you wouldn't think that it would affect whatsoever, it does, because it's what we're living in. We are living in the atmosphere, right? And so that's what really drew me to want to learn about meteorology. I was learning about the physics of a rainbow when I first got interested in it, in refraction and reflection, that when I was in physics, and how exactly that happened. But it's also a system that is very dynamic, right? We can make forecasts the best we can, and people always shake their fingers at us and they said, oh, they messed up that forecast. But that's because we can control nothing that's going on with the weather whatsoever. We can't control systems, we can't stop air masses, we can't do anything like that whatsoever. So forecasts are just that, they're predictions. They're not 100% accurate, they're not meant to be. But meteorology studies short-term forecasts, right? We're studying like what we know to be for 1 to 2 weeks out, because after that, the skill of a forecast weakens, because things are changing in the environment and things are changing in the atmosphere so quickly that they are not good for that long. And that's why sometimes they can be quite wrong from a couple of hours, from a day to a couple of hours, because it just depends on what's going on in the atmosphere, how the winds are moving, how fast the jet stream is, and the different levels. And also there are different levels in our atmosphere. We may look up and see blue, but what we don't understand is that there's different levels, and clouds are moving in different directions, and there's different wind speeds, and there's different air masses and different temperatures and different pressures that are all going on at once. So that's what I was talking about, the complexity of the atmosphere. But it's wildly fascinating, right? Because these are natural phenomena. And so the careers that are within meteorology, they're not just our weather forecasters in which we see every day. They are so expansive. There are forecasters that work at the airlines. There are forecasters that work at investment banks, like I said, on oil rigs. They work in air quality management. We have a vast amount of meteorologists that work in academic research, broadcast meteorology, like you were talking about. There's consultants that work as meteorologists. There's forensic meteorologists that work on trials, try to uphold like someone's innocence, or try to uphold, or try to prove someone is guilty, or trying to, validate what has actually gone on if somebody is filing for bankruptcy, or if they've sustained a loss, right? And they're trying to attribute that to the weather, the climate that's happened. We have weather forecasters, and we have meteorologists that work in non-government organizations like the Red Cross, that are working on the ground with people, trying to make better decisions. There's private sector companies, there's operational forecasting. So those are people that work in different sectors and are working 365, 24/7 to make sure that you always have your weather forecast. They work shift work. That's a common thing that we know about. And weather forecasting, there's emergency management. Just like the storm that rolled through a couple of weeks ago through Texas and through Oklahoma, there were meteorologists that were working in there too. And then there are the people that launch weather balloons and do our models as well. So they work all across, like I said, all across the world in various different jobs and locations, but they're always there because, like I said, meteorology affects everything. The weather affects everything. So now that I've talked a little bit about meteorology, I want to talk about what other degrees that our college offers. And this sits within the Department of Geographic and Environmental Sustainability. They offer degrees in geography, they offer degrees in geographic information science and environmental sustainability, right? Geography is a really big term, right? I think that before I went into college, I really didn't know what it was outside of the class that I was supposed to take in high school, right? But geography is just the study of places and the relationships between people and their environments. And that's it, and it encompasses everything as well too. It's a really broad definition, right? Geography is there to explore physical properties on the Earth's surface, and the human sciences that are spread around it, right? What distinguishes geography is that it approaches the study of diverse topics in a particular way, right? So geography asks spatial questions like how and why things are distributed and how they're arranged in a particular way on Earth's surface. So because the study of geography is so broad, the discipline is typically divided into specialties like physical geography and human geography, geographic techniques, and regional geography. And speaking about geographic techniques, that leads me into geographic information science, right? Often it's confused with geographic information systems, which is actually the tool that's used in geographic information science, right? But this is the scientific discipline that studies techniques that capture, that represent, process, and analyze this geographic information in which the geographers give them. And so, like I said, and then GIS, as you probably hear it, is the software tool in which is used for that, right? And then last but certainly not least is environmental sustainability, right? And it kind of encompasses meteorology, GIS, and geography at the same time, because environmental sustainability is responsibly interacting with the planet to maintain the natural resources and avoid jeopardizing the ability for future generations to meet those needs. So like I was saying at the beginning, that's why I'm so interested in our school and what we have to offer in these majors, because it really does affect everything. And it's taking the science and saying, okay, well, let's figure out how to use the science. Let's promote ourselves as human beings and advance, but let's also maintain and sustain our earth so we're not destroying it. This isn't a relatively new term, but it is a relatively new degree, because we need people like you all that are really interested in not just learning the science, but trying to save our earth at the same time. So the careers that are in geography, GIS, and environmental sustainability just as vast. In fact, probably more so than the careers that are in meteorology. Not to say that meteorology pigeonholes you into anything whatsoever, but within these careers, you can apply the things in which you've learned in meteorology and climatology at the same time. So there's a lot of overlap in what you can do. There's a lot of data analysis. There's a lot of mapping that you can do with GIS and geography as well too. You can also work in disaster response. But what you can do with the environmental sustainability part is work in economic development, is work in city planning, work in project management, right? Work in environmental journalism as well too, which is something about storytelling and taking people's indigenous knowledges too about what they know about geography, what they know about meteorology, and like weaving that into stories for them. And then you can work in planning for urban transportation resources, water, waste management. The opportunities are just very, very abundant for what you can do within this major as well, within these three majors, actually. And so I know that was a lot, but I know that this presentation is meant to be kind of an overview, so you guys can ask me questions about it as well too. So if I want to move into now thinking about, if you're wanting to, think years and years ahead and thinking about, is OU going to be right for me? One thing that has definitely changed about now going and applying for OU is that your test scores are optional. So OU has taken more of a holistic approach to admissions. I remember when I was going to school, you had to take the PSAT and submit it. You had to take the SAT or the ACT. And there was a requirement for the score in which you got, and that was based on and that determined how you got in, right? But we all know that test scores do not symbolize how we're going to perform in the future at all, right? We can do poorly on tests because because we have something going on in our mind and we're simply having a bad day or a bad go at it, right? Or we can do very well because we're having an exemplary day or something like that. So I'm glad to see that some colleges are phasing this out. Not to say that it's not important, because performing well is important, but it's not the end all be all. So OU is also looking at your engagement, your community involvement, your leadership, your extracurricular activities, work experience if you have some. I worked during high school at Chili's, right? And exceptional talents as well too. They're looking at your essays. So make sure that your essays are well written and you have someone to look over those too. And then your letters of recommendation that you get from high school. So that's you're being admitted to OU. When you're admitted to OU as a freshman, you are admitted to what's called the University College. That's where all freshmen go. Or maybe you're admitted to the Honors College because you've applied there. However, as a freshman, you're usually admitted there, and that's where you get advised. You're not usually admitted to your degree granting college should you choose the College of Atmospheric and Geographic Sciences because you want to pursue a degree in meteorology, GIS, geography, or environmental sustainability. That usually doesn't happen until your sophomore year. There are exceptions to that though, right? If you are taking any sort of tests, if you are taking IB tests, AP tests, or any other placement tests whatsoever, that can make it so that you come in with credit hours and you're automatically admitted to the college, right? However, if you fall into the bucket like most freshmen do, you'll be admitted to the university college. And then once you obtain a minimum of 24 semester hours of college credit and you have sustained a GPA of 2.25, your sophomore year, or 24 credit hours, whichever comes first, that is when you are admitted. And that's when you declare your major, and that's when you're admitted to our college. Now, I like to talk about this a great deal because I don't like to sugarcoat the fact that our math classes are hard, but that should not deter you at all from seeking out your degrees. There is too much of this talk floating around from students, from yourselves, like thinking that you have imposter syndrome or whatnot, thinking that you can't cut it because the classes are difficult. Maybe you didn't get the same level of math classes as your peers did or whatnot, but I do not want that to deter people from pursuing majors because, like I said, the careers are vast afterwards. We all know that getting your degree is like a footstep in because you're going to be trained in whenever you're going to go into whatever career job, or if you're going to go on to grad school and get your PhD. But whatever it is, people are going to train you when you get out of there. So yes, try to do as best as you can in your coursework while you're at school, especially in these math classes. However, if you are studying hard, if you are doing the best that you can, then it's just my own thinking that a C means that you got 75% of the information right. That's a lot. That's a lot of information to get correct, right? And your GPA, yes, it means something, but when you get out into the real world, right, it's based on what you know and how you can put that into practice. But math, especially calculus, forms the foundation of the bachelor's of science degrees that are offered through our college. Remember what I said, there's a difference. There's a bachelor of science degree and there's a bachelor of arts degree. So bachelors of arts, they don't have to take as much math. If you're going to get your bachelor's of arts in environmental sustainability, your bachelor's of art in geography, or your bachelor's of art in GIS, that's different. There is only one degree for meteorology, and it's the bachelor's of science. So you cannot get away with not taking the calculus classes, right? However, if you're thinking that I don't know where I stand in my development of math, there is a test that's called the ALEX test. It's a placement test that allows you to determine your current skill level and gives you online training to improve your mathematical skills. That's something that I will send around that K20 can send to you all later. Right? But you want to analyze this because correct placement in your first math course at the college or at OU determines how it is that you're going to proceed, like within getting your degree. Because some people, it takes a little bit longer for them to get their degree because they're trying to catch up in the math classes. But for the BS in environmental sustainability, geography, and geographic information science, Calculus 1 is required, as well as analytical methods in geography, right? For the Bachelor of Science in Meteorology, sorry, I put meteorology twice on there, you have to take Calculus 1 through 4, or either have clept out of those classes. But I did clept out of Calc 1 through 4 and taking placement tests when I was in high school, but I elected to take it again. And I'm glad that I did, right? Because the calculus that I learned in high school and applications to it in college, completely different, right? You also have to take a physical math class and then statistics up the wazoo, right? So that's just an amazing, that's just a thing that you have to go through, right? But you can, and I'll show you how that you can have the support to get through these classes while you are at our college. So I'm going to go ahead and try to wrap things up. In your first year, you're taking most of your intro classes or whatnot. You're going to take your first math class when you're there for most of the time that you're going on, and some of your gen ed, right? So 15 credit hours is what I say for people to take the most. Like, there's no need to take more than that unless you want to strap yourself or unless you think that you clept out of these classes. But usually those first 2 years, that's when you're taking some of your major coursework that you have to take, that everyone has to take, and then a couple of intro classes. Like, you'll have an intro to meteorology class if you're a meteorologist, a calc class, and then you'll move on to your physics courses the next year. We have tons of support and resources for you all. We have the National Weather Service Festival. We have student groups. We have a DEI council where we heard certain things. We send out a Monday memo. We have events that are definitely just for our students that are there. Not to mention, we have advising, study abroad, monthly events, town hall discussions, study hours, and career development sessions as well too. We have research opportunities and internships out the wazoo. We have more research institutes that are attached to the National Weather Center and the Department of Geography and Environmental Sustainability than I think any small college that's on campus. So what can you do now? Like, if you're wanting to go into meteorology, you can schedule a virtual visit or come visit the National Weather Center. Like, you can take daily measurements, but you definitely want to sharpen up your math and your physics skills. If you're interested in environmental sustainability, maybe visit one of your local facilities, volunteer for a local environmental justice group, acquaint yourself with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. That's the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. There's 17 of them. If you want to do GIS, learn to love geography and data. Sign up for some free courses in programming or ArcGIS. Incorporate your knowledge of this into a class or assignment or a project that you have. And if you're interested in geography, purchase an atlas, right? It's not just about maps, but do that anyway. Become an expert at using Google Earth. It's pretty darn cool. And like, foster your geoliteracy, right? There's the core content about geography, but there's the geographic tools in which you use. And then there's the geographic perspective, meaning understand what the world is like, right? This is not just Oklahoma and it's not just the United States. There's a great big world out there and everybody's living in it, right? So increase your literacy around that too. I'm going to send this information to K through 22. There is a summer camp that's going to happen this summer. Applications are due on the 16th. It's going to be held in July for a week. It's going to be at the National Weather Service, and you're going to be learning about different things about weather, thunderstorm development, how data is collected, how to read weather maps or whatnot too. It's completely free if you get in and you're allowed in, but I'll send this information around. I just wanted to make that little plug for it for people that are interested in meteorology. And with that being said, I'm going to end and take a couple of questions. I know that there were a lot of questions that came in previously, and I know there was a lot of information for you all as well too. But hopefully you found it quite interesting, and hopefully, it's starting to carve out some of your paths moving forward.
Thank you so much, Aisha. That was great information. I'm sure our students really appreciated that. We've had a lot of great questions come in. We probably won't have time for all of them, and some of them I think you've probably touched on a little bit, but maybe you could expand on that. So since you were a student in the college, can you explain maybe some of your experiences as a student, and that can be academically or just student life socially?
Sure, yeah. When I was a student, the National Weather Center wasn't there. I only was able to be in there for that last semester, but when I was there, there were so many seminars in which you can attend. I always tell people, even if you don't think that you want to be a researcher, to try at research, because there's lots of student conferences that you can go to. You can drip up your presentation skills by presenting posters as well too. I was also one of those people that tried to get involved in a lot of things that were outside of my degree too. I really wanted to meet people who weren't meteorologists, who weren't in the departments that I was in. So I volunteered for just about everything. I was in a beauty pageant once I was in a dance marathon that's on campus as well too. I pledged a sorority. I did so many different things, because that is what college is about, is getting a holistic experience as well. But I'm definitely glad that I went to OU and that I went to the college, because I wanted a specialized experience in meteorology. And I felt like I was able to get that while also experiencing everything else on campus too.
Great. Those sound like some great college experiences. and things for students to be looking forward to. Next question is, what would you say is one of the hardest challenges that a student might face in that college?
Sure. I think a lot of our students come in, like I was in the top 5% of my class, right? I thought I had it all. Like I thought I knew everything, right? No, not at all. Right? It is so much different. Like you can be the brightest, you can be valedictorian of your class, and then get into school and realize that you have to relearn the way that you learn, right? And that is a humbling experience, especially when you're used to performing at such a high level and then getting in and your competition and someone getting something so easily that is so hard for you to get as well too. So with that being said, I would, like I said at the beginning, don't be deterred by that. I told my mom one time, I was like, I'm so good at math. I was like, but I'm not doing well in Calc 3. And she asked me, well, what are you doing? And I told her everything. And she goes, well, stop doing that because it's not working anymore, right? And so I had to go to every office hour I possibly could, join every study group that I could now, not to mention there's so many online resources for y'all now, Khan Academy, people that break down things on videos as well too. So however you can, and then making it relatable to yourself, right? Just because someone else learned it that way does not mean that that's what's going to make sense to you, right? So I always try to bring in something personal when I'm trying to learn about things. I was not like the modeler or like the top-notch like physician or anything like that, but I loved communicating weather and the complexities of it to communities. I loved indigenous learning as well too. I found my niche within meteorology that was no one else's. So I just encourage you all to have tenacity. If you're not getting it, then you may have to check out what you've been doing previously, humble yourself and do something new, right? And then make it relatable to you. Always bring it back to who you are and who it is that you want to do and what you want to do within there.
What a great message, because sometimes we do think we have it figured out, but it can be hard. But you've mentioned so many great resources, which a lot of students aren't familiar with when they come to college, but there are such great resources out there for them that can help them through. We have a few more questions, and then we're going to move into the eval process. So what can students be doing now in high school? So they're freshmen, a lot of them are freshmen or in 8th grade. What can they be doing now to prepare, to do things to kind of beef up that application for college?
Right. I think I like listed a couple of things and then even specific by major. And I just like want to bring up that again, because I think it's just so important. It's some of the things I wish that I would have known, right? And so particularly for meteorology, right? I would advise that you start sharpening your math and your physics skills now, right? So if you know that if you know that your school doesn't offer like classes up to calc or anything like that, see if you can take a class at a community college. See if you can take an online class as well too, or just even free supplemental materials that are out there as well. For meteorology, like, start taking your own weather observations and such like that, buy a kit that's online off of Amazon, volunteer for the National Weather Service or whatnot. For all of the other ones, environmental sustainability, I think that you should volunteer for a local environmental justice group. Those groups are rad. They're so cool. They do so many different things. They even petition and lobby like at the capitals as well too, right? Like I said, acquaint yourself with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, because the UN is a place that houses all of these places as well. And they are really working towards an equitable world for everyone, right? Like I said, if you are interested in any of these things, start incorporating those into your projects and your assignments at school as well. That is a really easy way to bolster up your knowledge. And like was mentioned, to bolster your applications to college, right? I always tell people, don't wait until someone tells you to do something. Have your own proactivity and do it yourself, because if you're claiming that you're really interested in it, then show that you're interested in it, right? Show that you're going beyond, what someone has told you, and do things yourself. Check out the different tools. Like I said, check out Google Earth, check out ArcGIS. A lot of the stuff is for free online. Visit all of these facilities too that have these people. Job shadow as well too. Ask people, just bug them until they say no, right? It's a 50-50 chance. It's a yes or no, right? So you have the same percentage coming out of that anyway.
Okay, great. So I do have to finish with a Marvel question because we have had so many Marvel questions. And I know you did mention Storm and kind of why that was your favorite Marvel character. So the question is, what is your favorite Marvel movie or TV show?
WandaVision. Pretty high up there right now, like just because I love how they redid the cinematic universe. I like how they brought in some things from like the first X-Men when they recreated this Marvel Cinematic Universe back in 2000. And I remember that very clearly because I was at Disney World for the first and the only time that I've ever went, and my parents let us see that movie, the first X-Men movie that came out. That was redone and everything. And I grew up also watching the cartoon series as well. And I have 3 brothers, and so they were very into that, and I was too. And so everything about me, I even have like kind of something in my room that has like all of the Storm stuff on them, so I can just remind myself about my strength and how strong I am, and attaching that to the things that I love to do too, and the things I love about Earth. So I know it's a character or whatnot, and it's make believe, but it really, when things are really hard for me, it really brings me back, to think about that, to think about the strength of a heroine. Also, it is derived from African Orisha named Oya as well too, that is from Nigeria and is from the Santeria too. That's out of South America. So there is some truth. There is some truth, and there is some mythology to it as well too. So that's why.
Thank you so much. We enjoyed hearing from you. And of course, I think all the students loved the Marvel graphics and all of the Marvel conversation. So thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you all so much. You can definitely reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns. I'm really looking forward to participating and possibly seeing you guys in the next couple of years.